most of the people know that Article 25 of the Constitution of India gives a right to religion, but in fact the article is much more than merely a right to religion. However, the basic question to many of the minds may be whether really there is any fundamental right to be an atheist under the Constitution of India, and what is the meaning of atheism or what is the meaning of religion. So I will try to highlight all these concepts with reference to article and relevant case laws. And of course, the Article 25 also confers a right upon citizens as a fundamental right to practice, profess, follow and propagate the atheism also, just like it gives the same right in respect of the religion. However, before I directly jump to Article 21, I would try to simplify the idea about the atheism. You may be aware that today's population in the world, that is atheist population in the world, is around 75 crores. And as far as India is concerned, India has been the land of this atheist philosophy since down the ages. In fact, the first atheist school of thought in India is considered to be the Charvak, and there were other school of thoughts like Ajivika thought, etc. However, let us first try to know what is the exact meaning of atheism. To put it very simply, a person who is atheist does not believe into afterlife. What is afterlife? The concept like soul, that is and the concept like heaven, Nark, rebirth and God. These are all concepts which are afterlife, and therefore a person who does not believe into afterlife is generally considered to be an atheist. However, in our Indian philosophy, the concept of atheism is not on the touchstone whether he believes into this God or not. In fact, we have a tradition of Vedas and other treatises. The schools which did not believe into Vedas were called atheist, and therefore the schools of thought like Charvak, Buddhist and Jain are considered to be atheist school of thoughts in Indian land. And in all these three, that is Charvak system, Buddhist system and Jain system, the concept of God is not identified, it is not admitted. However, in general sense, we can say that not believing into God, Atma, Punarjan, heaven, hell is indication of being an atheist. So now, again to put it very simple, the Charvak has put a shortest definition of what should be the way of life, and he says that things which are beyond our perception should not be believed, and therefore we can make this definition again simpler, that one who doesn't believe into anything which is not perceivable can be called as atheist. Now question is whether our constitution has recognized this as a fundamental right. Yes, of course it is, because Article 25 of the Constitution of India says, subject to public morality, order and health, every citizen is entitled to freedom of free conscience. And then it says about the religion. So Article 25 gives twofold right. The first is freedom of free conscience and the second is religion. Now the concept of religion and the right to follow, practice, profess and propagate religion is recognized as a fundamental right. However, the constitution did not define what is exactly meant by religion. One thing should be kept in mind, that God is not a necessarily essential component of the concept of religion, because religion need not be necessarily theistic. A non-theistic or atheist religion can also be a religion, and the best examples in India are that of Buddhism and Jainism, because both of them are non-theist. So God is not required to form or constitute a religion. That is the first criteria. Therefore, what exactly is meant by religion? So, to put it very simple, it is a faith that constitutes a religion. Now, there is particular faith and people follow that faith, they constitute a religion. This is the shortest possible meaning of religion. Therefore, faith can be of any kind. Faith can be theistic, faith can be non-theistic also. So, religion can be theistic as well as non-theistic, and therefore, Honorable Supreme Court of India has categorically observed for more than one time that it is not necessary that the religion must have the God, and it has quoted the examples like Buddhism and Jainism in India into the concept of God, and they are purely non-theistic. They are religion. 25 protects and guarantees right to follow such non-theistic religion also. Now, to highlight this concept of right to no religion or right of free, I would like to give one example of case which was decided by the Honorable Bombay High Court way back in 2014. There was a group of the people who did not believe into any religion, and of course earlier these people were believing into various religions together, and they had formed a group, and the motto of that group was that they did not have any faith, they did not believe into any religion, etc. However, various government forms, applications, etc., where they were being required to show the religion to which they belong. But question arose, why they were being compelled by the government by way of representation, that they should not be compelled to say that they belong to any religion. So government refused their representation, saying that you must show in the respective columns of the government applications or forms that you belong to particular religion. And that is how that action of the government was challenged by them by filing a PIL in the Bombay High Court, and that Bombay High Court PIL was decided by the bench headed by Honorable Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court and then Bombay High Court Judge Sri Abhay Oka. The title of that case is Dr. Ranjit Suryakant Mohite versus Union of India. It was a PIL 139 of 2000. It was decided on 23rd September, and this case can be in the Google also. The Honorable High Court went into explaining the concept of the freedom to free conscience. The conscience, whatever is right or wrong, the capacity to understand what is right, what is wrong, is generally considered to be the conscience. So, if your conscience says that religion is not worthy of following, professing, practicing, and therefore you do not believe into any religion. Now, Constitution has given you a right, that is called right of free conscience. So, therefore, a person in exercise of this right, that is right of free conscience, can say that he doesn't belong to any religion, or he doesn't believe into any religion, he doesn't practice any religion, follow any religion, or propagate any religion as such. So to put it other way, what is this? In general parlance, we can say that these are the atheist people. So Bombay High Court has declared and held that it is a fundamental right flowing from Article 20, more particularly the right of free conscience, that you are entitled to say and profess. Profess means publicly belong to any religion. It was the first case which was a major case, landmark case in Indian jurisprudence, whereby the Honorable Court declared that right to religion also includes right to no religion, or otherwise in general parlance we can say right to atheism. Now thereafter, recently one interesting case was filed, and that was decided by the Honorable High Court of Madras. In this case, what had happened, you may be aware the personality of Tanthai Periyar. He was upright atheist. He believed into atheism. He practiced atheism for his whole life, and he formulated one party also on the basis of atheism. He believed that in order to solve the daily problems, we should not look into the supernatural power or God or religion, etc., and it is better to have our own genius mind at the use to deal with the social problem, daily problems. And accordingly, after his death, his statues were erected at various places in the state of, and below that statue there is an inscription, and in that inscription it is written that there is no God and God doesn't exist. One God is a fool who scoundrel, and one who worships God is bad. So this was what written in the inscription below the statue of Sri Periyar, late Periyar. The petitioner who approached the Honorable High Court made a prayer for direction to the authority, that is Chief Secretary of the State of Madras, that is Tamil Nadu, that the inscriptions below the statues of Periyar across the state should be removed. This case was hotly contested because the Dravid Kadgam party president was also made a party to the petition, and it was very hotly contested by the second respondent, that is Dravid Kadgam party president, and it established its right of not only practicing, professing, but also propagating the atheism. And they pointed out to the Honorable Court that Periyar believed in his ideology of atheism, and he worked for the same ideology for the entire of his lifetime, and therefore, and he was of the view that this atheism is the best and possible way to deal with the social and worldly problem, material problem of the people. And therefore, the Honorable High Court, while dismissing the petition of the petitioner, categorically held that it is a fundamental right of everyone to be an atheist, and not only to be an atheist is his personal life, but just like Article 25 gives everyone a right to propagate the religion, similarly Article 25 also gives a right to propagate that he is an atheist, or in fact, in short, the right to the religion also extended to the right to propagate the atheism also. So this was another yet example whereby the Honorable Courts recognized that our Indian Constitution under Article 25 recognizes the right as a fundamental right to be an atheist and also to propagate atheism. Thereafter, yet another very interesting case came before Honorable High Court of Punjab and Haryana. The petitioner did not believe into any religion, any god, any caste, etc. However, for the reasons whatever, the certificate was later on withdrawn and the petitioner felt aggrieved, and because he felt aggrieved, he filed a petition before the Honorable High Court seeking a direction to the authority which has earlier granted the certificate of atheism and later on withdrawn. And the direction was sought to the effect that the authority to the certificate to the effect that he is an atheist, he did not believe into any religion or any god or any caste, because petitioner was of the view that these are the concepts, these are the things which are divisive in the nature, they are dividing the society, and the gulf between the population, the people of this country is getting broadened, and therefore he believed that it is better to be an atheist so that there will be no division. In this case, the Honorable High Court said that it is not at all necessary for him to have such certificate, because fundamentally the Constitution of India itself guarantees such a right. So once again the Honorable High Court reiterated the position which was laid down by the Honorable Madras High Court and Bombay High Court, that a citizen is entitled to be an atheist, citizen is entitled to say he doesn't belong into any religion, he doesn't believe into any religion, he doesn't want to profess any religion. It is fundamental right because of the clause in Article 25, that is right of free conscience. So these are very historical cases in the Indian constitutional history. Thereafter, another case came before Honorable Bench of Bombay High Court, that is Aurangabad bench. Now the facts of this case are slightly different. You may be aware that in our state many Hindu people celebrate the Muharram festival. Now basically this Muharram festival is festival of Islam. However, in our Maharashtra state, in various villages, the Hindus also actively participate into this Muharram. So in that case, what had happened, that petitioner who came to the High Court made an application because villagers opposed him to participate or to celebrate the festival of Muharram in his particular village. So he sought permission from the police authorities that he should be permitted and the people should be directed that he should not be disturbed while he is celebrating the Muharram. Now such a permission was refused by the police, saying that you do not belong to Islam and you don't have a right to celebrate that Islamic celebration, that is celebration or festival, to more specifically, that is Muharram. So feeling aggrieved, that petitioner also filed a petition before the Honorable High Court of Bombay, criminal criminal case. In that, now this concept of religion was again slightly enlarged, slightly liberalized. Honorable High Court went to the extent of saying that since our constitution guarantees to follow religion, so it is the choice of the person whether you should follow your religion in which you are born or other religion in which you are not born, without going into the technicalities. And therefore we can say that you are entitled not only to follow or practice your own religion, but also follow or practice in, and nobody can object to such a practice. And that is how the Honorable High Court said that the permission denied by the police authorities is quashed and set aside, and it was direct, he should not be disturbed while he is celebrating, because it is his fundamental right to do so. So friends, these are the interesting cases which were decided by our Honorable High Court. Now one interesting case was decided by Honorable Supreme Court, and in which we can go into much deeper of what is the concept of religion with regard to our Indian land. In that case, what had happened, some political leader in election campaign made a speech, and he referred to name of religion, and he solicited the votes in the name of religion. And of course this was illegal in the sense that the People's Representative Act prohibits anyone from soliciting the votes in the name of religion. So ultimately this case reached the Supreme Court, and this political leader was belonging to a party which solicited the name votes in the name of Hindu religion. So the question was formulated before the Honorable Supreme Court of India that what is the meaning of exact Hinduism. So Honorable Supreme Court entered into much lengthy observations, and it observed the way of life, and therefore soliciting votes of Hindutva, to say more specifically, is not Court said that Hinduism. But if we consider what exactly is meant by religion, in fact the very meaning of religion can be like this only. It simply means a way of living life, whether it is Islam, whether it is Christianity, whether it is Hinduism, whether it is any other religion. So these religions are nothing but outcome of the philosophy, and the philosophy gives some rules according to which we lead our life, and we say that this is our religion. So the religion is nothing but an outcome of philosophy, and philosophy is giving us way to lead the life peacefully, happily, and to achieve our progress in whatever aspect of life that we want to achieve. Now the atheism, why it is so important and why it is so necessary. Now the concept of secularism as adopted by our Constitution of India is nothing but a kind of atheism. But because atheism seems to be a kind of negative word, many people say that being an atheist is treated or considered to be a negative fact. Therefore the atheism, philosophically called as a legally called as a secularism, said it is nothing but atheism. In the year 1851, this secularism term was firstly coined by one great personality from England, and his name was George Jacob. Jacob. His full name is I'm not getting. Just a minute. I have. George Jacob. Yes, Holyoake. George Jacob Holyoake. There was a big fight as to why he was atheist and as to why he simply made agitation concept manner in a from Northampton city, and when he came to Parliament, there was a rule: occupies the seat into Parliament, he was God refused into God. Therefore he should not be compelled of God to show that he has allegiance to the king. But he was not allowed to do so. He was rejected, and thereafter he had to face another election. Again he came elected. Again same thing happened. Again he refused to take in the name again the seat fell vacant. So this, and every time he seat, people also supported him. But in the parliament, he was not being allowed. He was not being allowed to uh, to take oath according to his own ideology, and he was being compelled to swear in the name of God. His case was, he was of the opinion that instead of taking oath in the name of God, it was better to simply affirm, like we say that I affirm that so and so, so and so. So when he said that he did not believe into the God, why should he be compelled to falsely take an oath? And this led to his agitation. Ultimately, he was taken into custody for once, as he has refused to obey the order of parliament. But even then he did not go on back foot, continued to agitate, and ultimately on the 5th or 6th occasion he was allowed, I think 5th occasion he was allowed to take oath according to his own ideology, that he was allowed to affirm rather than taking oath in the name of God, and that is how he entered England. Parliament of England, he immediately introduced a bill that we today know as Oaths Bill, and that bill was passed into Parliament, and once that bill was passed, it became legal for everyone to take oath on simple affirmation basis rather than taking oath in the name of God. The person who actually agitated for the concept of secularism, and he coined that word secularism. What was his ideology? Was that now to tackle with the daily problem of human being, it was not necessary to go in search of any supernatural power like God, and human mind should be utilized to deal with the problem, to solve the daily problem. And therefore he said that secularism should be principle of, and what does it exactly, in simply we can say that it separates the political or the social affairs from the religion, actively or actually dismissing the religion itself. It is not dismissing the religion, it is not compelling you to give up the religion, but we are governing the state, it will not have any connection with the religion, it will not take any support to solve the affairs of the state. So this concept has been as it is adopted by our Indian constitution, because we see article 14, 15, 16 of the constitution prohibit any kind of discrimination in the name of religion. Article 14 says that you are entitled to equality before law and equal protection before law. So anybody, regardless of his religion, is entitled to this principle. Similarly, Article 15 categorically says that you shall not be discriminated on the ground of your religion. Similarly, 16 says in the matter of you cannot be discriminated on the ground of your religion. So these are the constitutional mandates which the state of shall remain a private affair. It shall be between capacity and state authorities. And more interestingly, not only the state, it also separates the persons who are governing the state or the agencies of the state, authorities of the state, department of the state. So we can say each and every right head of the country to the lowest public servant, from peon to country. That is, in our country we have president or toppest, or say for that matter prime minister. So as long as a head of the state or in official capacity, they shall separate themselves from the religion. So this is nothing but who is discharging public duty has to be an atheist as long as he is continuing into that capacity. We can say in a simple way that if a government servant, when he enters his office and remains into office for official work, he has to be. Now this is called in legal terms secularism. So this is very wonderful concept that our constitutional mechanism has adopted in the form of secularism. However, many people say that uh, it is wrong to assume that secularism is the atheism. For such people, I would recommend to go into search of the meaning of secularism, and if they go into dictionaries like Webminster Dictionary, etc., that it is nothing but a kind of atheism itself. Say why this secularism or atheism is so important, or to say that secularism is so important. It is the only guarantee for your right of religion. Well, entitled to practice, propagate, follow. An example where the secularism is not available, then tomorrow any religion which is in majority will compel others not to follow their own religion. But as long as secularism continues, it gives a guarantee to majority or minority or all religion to practice to their own religion. That is how the secularism is very essential even to have the right of religion. In the absence of secularism, it is very difficult to imagine even what can be the religion. So this is a kind of constitutional guarantee that right to religion, and again it is subject to public morality, public order, and public health. So whenever any religious practice clashes with this public order, public health, or public morality, it has to take a back seat and will have to be given the front seat. Now these all concepts like atheism, or in a legal constitutional parlance we can say secularism, religion, these are very important nowadays as we are witnessing. And in order to have the progress of our society and to achieve the height in the every aspect of life, we must not only cultivate this, but we must protect this concept of secularism. And at the same time, since just as a religion is a private affair and it remains between individual, his religion or his God, because by inherent nature of the religion or inherent nature of this, what should be my relation with God, it personal affair. I cannot impose it on anybody else. Similarly, whether I should have any relation with the God or not is my own personal affair. Since Constitution permits, Constitution guarantees the right of religion to be propagated, it also guarantees right of conscience also to be propagated. If your conscience says that atheism is the best way of leading life, not only you can believe and practice, but also you can propagate to that effect. And as held by Honorable Bombay High Court, Punjab High Court, and our Aurangabad bench also. So friends, I think these are cases which are interesting, and I tried to explain in shortest possible time today. So I think I should conclude today's session, and if anybody wants to have any question, so immediately they can pose the question, and so that many people have joined. I'm just scrolling down my screen to show. Okay. So, okay, friend, now I would like to thank all of you, and I will try to come once again tomorrow or day after tomorrow with another such topic. And someone has requested me that since our law juniors, the fresh advocates, much of their time into juniorship, and yet they do not learn according to their time and the time they invest, I should come with some topics which will enhance the junior lawyers and junior advocates, and they should quickly understand what are the initial procedural aspects of practice in lawyering. So therefore I am also thinking to initiate such kind of lectures which will benefit the fresh lawyers and advocates. So probably tomorrow I may have one separate session for the fresh lawyers with regard to the initial procedural aspects which are not generally taught in the school law schools, but which are very important in the practice. Thank you.